Hey guys, welcome back to Reading the Bible in a Year. Today is day 3. It's January 3rd, so we are going to continue. Can't believe that we've already done 2 days, but the year's ticking along. So we are not going to waste any time, guys. We are going to get straight into it. On yesterday's reading, we went through the lineage of Adam and Eve, their children, Cain, his lineage of, his sons and who they had as children, yada, yada, yada. We ended at Noah and Noah's 3 sons that he had. So we're going to pick up from there today. And today's subject matter in regards to what we're going to be reading is going to talk about basically mankind's degeneration into wickedness. We all know the story of Noah and the ark and why that came to be, etc., etc. So I'm just going to give you a little synopsis that's at the beginning here before we continue with a reading of the scriptures. So, as I said, we're dealing with mankind's degeneration into wickedness. In the accounts of Seth, Cain, and their descendants is a hint that 2 distinct groups of people have been developing. Those descending from Seth, for example, Enoch, were apparently people who lived righteously before God. On the other hand, those descending from Cain, as typified by Lamech, the murderer, appear to have degenerated into unrighteousness. Therefore, although undoubtedly individual exceptions might be found within each of the 2 extended families, it can generally be assumed that the Sethites, which are, from Seth, were godly people and the Cainites ungodly. At this point, however, the record seems to indicate that the sons of God, perhaps referring to the Sethites, or in any event to those who have had a God-fearing heritage, now begin to intermarry with the daughters of men, not because they're righteous women, but only because they're physically attractive. The apparent result is that such mixture of the godly and ungodly leads to an obliteration of moral distinction in righteous living. The situation is so bad, in fact, that terribly wicked men known as Nephilim have become heroes among people. Only 10 generations have lived since Adam was first created in God's own image, and they have all sinned to one extent or another by being disobedient in God's moral law. With each generation has come rejection of God's sovereignty and love, as it now begins to appear that more and more mankind has turned to wickedness. God is inclined to destroy his creation. Yet there is a handful of people, including Noah, who still walk with God. So God mercifully postpones destruction of the world for 120 years. So that's a synopsis of what we're about to get into, okay? So we are going to start today's reading at Genesis 6, verses 1 and 2. When human beings began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Then the Lord said, "My spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years." Genesis 6, verse 4. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the eras of old men of renown. Genesis 6, 5 through 8. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. The Lord regretted that he had made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and the creatures that move along the ground, for I regret that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. Now, guys, can you imagine? I'm just pausing here for a moment. Can you imagine, the regret he must have felt to, say that he is going to just completely scratch it all, It took him so many days, 6 days, to create the sky, the earth, the birds, the bees, everything. And then just to be like, you know what? Y'all done got on my last nerves. I'm about to just scratch it all. But in any event, we're going to move on. So where are we? Genesis 6, verses 9 and 10. This is the account of Noah and his family. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Genesis 6, verses 11 through to 16. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight and was full of violence. God saw how corrupt the earth had become, for all the people on earth had corrupted their ways. So God said to Noah, I am going to put an end to all people, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. I am surely going to destroy both them and the earth. So make yourself an ark of cypress wood. Make rooms in it and coat it with pitch inside and out. This is how you are to build it. The ark is to be 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. Make a roof for it, leaving below the roof an opening 1 cubit high all around. Put a door in the side of the ark and make lower, middle, and upper decks. So God basically gave him a blueprint, and the exact specifications of how he wanted the ark built. Genesis 6, verses 17 through 21. I am going to bring flood waters on the earth to destroy all life under heavens, every creature that has breath of life in it. Everything on earth will perish, but I will establish my covenant with you, and you will enter the ark. You and your sons and your wife and your sons' wives with you. You are to bring into the ark 2 of all living creatures, male and female, to keep them alive with you. 2 of every kind of bird, of every kind of animal, and of every kind of creature that moves along the ground will come to you to be kept alive. You are to take every kind of food that is to be eaten and store it away as food for any of them. For you and for them, I should say. Genesis 6, verse 22. Noah did everything just as God commanded him. Genesis 7, 1 through 5. The Lord then said to Noah, go into the ark, you and your whole family, because I have found you righteous in this generation. Take with you 7 pairs of every kind of clean animal, a male and its mate, and 1 pair of every kind of unclean animal, a male and its mate, and also 7 pairs of every kind of bird, male and female, to keep their various kinds alive throughout the earth. 7 days from now, I will send rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. And I will wipe from the face of the earth every living creature I have made. And Noah did all that the Lord commanded him. Genesis 7, verses 6 through 10. Noah was 600 years old when the flood waters came on the earth. And Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives entered the ark to escape the waters of the flood. Pairs of clean and unclean animals, of birds, and of all creatures that move along the ground, male and female, came to Noah and entered the ark, as God had commanded Noah. And after the 7 days, the flood waters came to the earth. Genesis 7, verses 11 and 12. In the 600th year of Noah's life, on the 17th day of the 2nd month, on that day, all the springs of the great deep burst forth, and the floodgates of the heavens were opened, and rain fell on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. Genesis 7, verses 13 through 16. On that very day, Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, together with his wife and the wives of the 3 sons, entered the ark. They had with them every wild animal according to its kind, all livestock according to their kinds, every creature that moves along the ground according to its kind, and every bird to its kind, everything with wings. Pairs of all creatures that have the breath of life in them came to Noah and entered the ark. The animals going in were male and female of every living thing, as God had commanded Noah. Then the Lord shut him in. Genesis 7, verses 17 through 23. For 40 days the flood kept coming on the earth, and as the waters increased, they lifted the ark high above the earth. The waters rose and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated on the surface of the water. They rose gently on the earth, and all the high mountains under the entire heavens were covered. The water rose and covered the mountains to a depth of more than 15 cubits. Every living thing that moved on land perished. Birds, livestock, wild animals, all the creatures that swarm over the earth, and all mankind. Everything on dry land that had breath of life in its nostrils died. Every living thing on the face of the earth was wiped out. People and animals and the creatures that move along the ground and the birds were wiped from the face of the earth. Only Noah was left, and those with him in the ark. Guys, can you believe that? Wow. Genesis 7 verses 24. And then going into Genesis 8, verse 4. The waters flooded the earth for 150 days. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and the livestock that were with him in the ark. And he sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded. Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens had been closed, and the rain had stopped from falling from the sky. The water receded steadily from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, the water had gone down. And on the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. Genesis 8, verse 5. The waters continued to recede until the 10th month, and on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains became visible. Guys, I know I'm breaking, but I'm like, it's fascinating. Can you imagine how much water that literally had to be for it to take that long to recede and for you to be able to see the tops of the mountains? I mean, wow. But let me continue. Genesis 8, verses 6 and 7. After 40 days, Noah opened a window he had made in the ark and sent out a raven, and it kept flying back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth. Genesis 8 and 9. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground. But the dove could find nowhere to perch because there was water over all the surface of the earth. So it returned to Noah in the ark. He reached out his hand and took the dove and brought it back to himself in the ark. Genesis 8, verses 10 through 11. He waited 7 more days and again sent out the dove from the ark. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there in its beak was a freshly plucked olive leaf. Then Noah knew that the water had receded from the earth. Genesis 8, verse 12. He waited 7 more days and sent the dove out again, but this time it did not return to him. Genesis 8, verses 13. By the first day of the first month of Noah's 601st year, the water had dried up from the earth. Noah then removed the covering from the ark and saw that the surface of the ground was dry. Yay! Genesis 8, 14 through 19. By the 27th day of the second month, the earth was completely dry. Then God said to Noah, "Come out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, the birds, the animals, and all the creatures that move along the ground, so they can multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in number on it." So Noah came out, together with his sons and his wife and his sons' wives, all the animals and all the creatures that move along the ground and all the birds, everything that moves on land came out the ark, one kind after another. Genesis 8, verse 20. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and taking some of all the clean animals and clean birds, he sacrificed burnt offerings on it. Genesis 8, 21 and 22. The Lord smelled the pleasing aroma and said in his heart, "Never again will I curse the ground because of humans, even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood. And never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease." Genesis 9, verse 1 and 2. Then God blessed Noah and his sons, saying to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number and fill the earth. The fear and dread of you will fall on all the beasts of the earth, and on all the birds in the sky, on every creature that moves along the ground, and on all the fish in the sea. They are given into your hands." Genesis 9, verses 3 and 4. Everything that lives and moves about will be food for you. Just as I gave you the green plants, I now give you everything, but you must not eat meat that has its lifeblood still in it. And for your lifeblood, I will surely demand an accounting. I will demand an accounting from every animal, and from each human being too. I will demand an accounting for the life of another human being. Whoever sheds human blood, by humans shall their blood be shed. For in the image of God has God made mankind. As for you, be fruitful and increase in number. Multiply on the earth and increase upon it. Genesis 9, verses 8 through 11. Then God said to Noah and to his sons with him, "I now establish my covenant with you and with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that was with you, the birds, the livestock, and all the wild animals, all those that came out of the ark with you, every living creature on earth. I establish my covenant with you. Never again will all life be destroyed by the waters of flood. Never again will there be a flood to destroy the earth." Genesis 9, verses 12 through 17. And God said, This is the sign of the covenant I am making between me and you and every living creature with you, a covenant for all generations to come. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Whenever I bring clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you, in all living creatures of every kind. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life. Whenever the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and all living creatures of every kind on the earth. So God said to Noah, "This is the sign of the covenant I have established between me and all of the earth." So guys, just so you know, that means whenever you see a rainbow out there, it's to remind us and remind God of the promise that he made to Noah, his family, all living creatures, everything that had life in it, that he would never, ever destroy the human race, mankind, the earth, and everything that he created again by floods. Genesis 9, verses 18 and 19. The sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. These were the three sons of Noah, and from them came the people who were scattered over the whole earth. Genesis 9, verses 20 through 23. Noah, a man of the soil, proceeded to plant a vineyard. When he drank some of its wine, he became drunk and lay uncovered inside his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father naked and told his two brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it across their shoulders. When they walked in backward and covered their father's naked body, their faces were turned the other way, so they would not see their father naked. Genesis 9, verse 24 through 27. When Noah awoke from his wine and found out what his youngest son had done to him, he said, "Cursed be Canaan, the lowest of slaves will he be to his brothers." He also said, "Praise be to the Lord, that God, the God of Shem, may Canaan be the slave of Shem. May God extend Japheth's territory. May Japheth live in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be the slave of Japheth." Genesis 9, verse 28 through 29. After the flood, Noah lived 350 years. Noah lived a total of 950 years, and then he died. So guys, that ends our reading for today, day 3, January 3rd. It was interesting, quite enjoyable like the rest of it was. I a little confused as to why Noah was upset at his son Ham for seeing him naked and telling his brothers what he saw. I mean, he is the one that was laying there drunk, unaware of what was going on in the tent. And I'm sure his son probably just happened up on him accidentally, laying there naked. So if you guys have, anyone who's watching this, if you have some clarity in regards to that part, please leave it down below and let me know. Enlighten me, guys. We're all here to learn. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much for joining me today on day 3, January 3rd of reading the Bible in a year. Guys, if you have not already subscribed to this channel, please go ahead and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. If you enjoy this reading, give us a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. And until next time, I will see you tomorrow. Bye.